everybody. Welcome into yet another edition of the Baseline Jumper Podcast, Take 2, because Ben and I tried recording on Tuesday night, and something went wrong, but we are so dedicated to our craft that I'm coming to you live from behind the steering wheel of my car on my way into work. I'm Jason Goldstein. Joining me, as always, Ben McDonald. Ben, good morning.
Good morning to you, Jason. It's a little bit of a change of pace. We're normally the night owls who are recording as the games go on, but today we get to do it in the morning, and we get to discuss now one extra game that was going on last night as well. So I guess it's got its benefits. What do you think? Are we going to make this a full-time thing? We'll just start recording in the mornings, Jason?
It depends on how much traffic I hit every day, because I don't want our beloved listeners to hear my road rage. Because I've been at 3 red lights and we've been recording for like a minute, so that's just going to show how my commute's going. But hey, that means I have more time to talk to you. So why don't we get right into it? The Warriors are back in the NBA Finals 5 straight years, Ben. They sweep the Portland Trailblazers. They didn't make it look easy, but a sweep is a sweep. What are your initial takeaways of that series against the Trailblazers for the Warriors?
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, for a series that was a sweep at the end of everything, it's amazing how close this series felt at points. The Trailblazers really kept things tight. I think ultimately the Warriors overwhelmed them with talent. The top 3 guys for them just took over this series in a way that you might expect from 3 guys who are shoe-in Hall of Famers. Curry obviously just maneuvered around the traps that they tried to throw at him by hitting Draymond Green for 4-on-3s. When they sagged off, he hit 3s. He was incredible. Draymond Green finishes the series, triple-double, and that really summed up his contributions during this series. He looked like the old Draymond Green, looked like the all-star that he has been for so many seasons, and was just an absolute, as Steve Kerr called him, wrecking ball on the other end. So, incredible series by him. And then obviously Klay Thompson just seemed to hit every open shot throughout the series. So those 3 guys carried them. And then they got contributions from their bench, Jason. And when that happens, like the old strength in numbers Warriors, they're a tough team to beat.
You took the words right out of my mouth, Ben, because Draymond Green, when the Warriors are fully healthy, is kind of the forgotten man. You put DeMarcus Cousins out there, and then Kevin Durant, of course. He's the 5th option. You can argue maybe he's even the 6th option if Andre Iguodala is playing well. So good to see Draymond Green kind of get back into the spotlight and play well behind Steph Curry. But, Ben, I can't wait anymore. I got to go right into my hero of the week, and it has to be Steph Curry. Had a triple-double in Game 4 along with Draymond Green, 37 points, 12 rebounds, 10 assists. He had more boards than assists, but he was absolutely locked in. And the one thing I'll say about Steph, Ben, is that it's scary how good he is. And I say this because, I'm not trying to make this a broad statement, but I say this because you saw him struggle a little bit in the Clippers series. You saw him kind of take a back seat to Kevin Durant. Durant played at an all-time level through the first 2 rounds of the playoffs. But Steph slowly began to learn how to play with KD, and now he's taken back the spotlight with Durant injured. So he can play with Durant, and he can play without Durant, both at an extremely high level, and that is a very good sign for Golden State's title chances.
Absolutely. And I mean, like I said, I think that he just did a wonderful job in this series of just dissecting that Portland defense, the way that he just crushed them. Whenever they trapped, he ended up getting the ball to Green, whoever his pick-and-roll partner was, and led to 4-on-3s for open shots. When they didn't trap and they gave him any breathing space at all, he was just raining fire on them from 3-point land. He had 7 triples in Game 4 in the closeout. And when he hits that many shots, it's just really hard to win. It means that the other team is, I mean, in this case the Warriors, are just really getting some of the most efficient shots in basketball when he's knocking those down. So when he has one of those barrages, it's really tough to stop. And then, like you said, it's been really interesting to watch him kind of morph back into the Steph Curry we saw pre-Durant, and watch this whole team do that to some degree. I mean, I think that's been the thing about this series that everyone's noticed, is that the Warriors look like the old Warriors again. They're cutting with ferocity. They're They're getting into the lane. Everyone's moving. And I think it's hard to deny that as much as Kevin Durant is good for them, and he is, that ultimately they're a different team without him, Jason, because they can cut, they can do those things. Everyone feels involved. So it might not be sustainable when there's a team that can just shut them down in the half court, but in series like this, it's pretty wonderful to get to watch a team that just plays that team style of basketball, don't you think?
I don't want to use the term better without Kevin Durant, but you hit the nail on the head, Ben. They are definitely different, and they are still scary good. But that doesn't mean that they don't need Kevin Durant to win the NBA championship. I mean, we said this last night, Ben. Kevin Durant is absolutely crucial to their finals chances. He needs to come back healthy. Now, I think the finals start a week from tomorrow, so this podcast will come out the 22nd. The finals start on the 30th. So by the time the finals begin, Durant will have missed at least 3 weeks to a month. Will he be 100%? Probably not. But he should be healthy enough to get out there and contribute. And if he comes in and plays at a high level next to Steph with Clay and Draymond in secondary roles, I think Golden State is on their way to their 4th championship in 5 years.
Yeah, you make a great point. I mean, I think Durant is going to be really crucial regardless of who they play in the finals. We're going to talk a little bit more about the NBA Finals and whoever is going to be there from the Eastern Conference side next Tuesday on our NBA Finals preview. But no matter who they play, they're going to be playing a team that is going to be the best half-court defense that they've played so far in this playoffs. Either the Raptors or the Bucks, they've both shown that they can really lock teams down in the half court, and that is going to mean that a guy like Kevin Durant is incredibly valuable. And what he does really is he can just get you buckets in the half court. When things slow down, he can have those isolation plays where, as much as we enjoy the team basketball, Jason, the big thing is it's a tiring way to play. Those guys are cutting. They're expending so much energy when they play that way that it's I don't know if it's sustainable. And on top of that, when teams really shut down their first couple actions, it's hard to get shots because they thrive on cutting into open shots. But when teams can stop that, it's harder for them to get good shots. They don't have guys who just can back down in the post or get something in the mid-range like Durant can. And I think that really speaks to what he brings his team.
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to read you a tweet, though, from LA Clippers guard Patrick Beverley, which is not too safe because I'm behind the wheel of a moving vehicle. But Patrick Beverley said, yesterday morning, we really challenged them better than anybody. Don't tweet me back. So you got Pat Beverley, who's known to be an outspoken player, talking smack about the Portland Trailblazers. Now, just to kind of give Portland a postmortem, as you and I have been very high on them, they may have been swept then, but the numbers indicate otherwise. If you look at it and you followed this series, it was very competitive from the jump. Portland actually led for more minutes than they trailed. They led Golden State for 101 minutes, and they only trailed the Warriors for 83. This is according to ESPN Stats and Info. So Portland gave them much more than the numbers showed. They were right there in every game. Damian Lillard had a couple of missed shots that would have won them Game 4. So it's unfair to say that the Portland Trailblazers did not show up. Do I think they were a little bit gassed? Yes. They had a 7-game slugfest with the Denver Nuggets, and they had a tough first-round series against the Oklahoma City Thunder. They had to have been tired. Damian Lillard and C.J. McCollum both played their hearts out. I think they definitely missed Yusuf Nurkic in this series, and they just didn't have enough firepower to get it done, but they were right there, Ben. What do you think?
Yeah, and I mean, I think you're absolutely right. And I'm glad we get a chance to talk about the Trailblazers, who had a great season. Ultimately, when you look back, it just comes down to the fact that they didn't have the talent to match up. And I think a lot of Trailblazers fans, they came into this series with tempered expectations. And I think they were right to do so in the sense that without Nurkic, and frankly without the wing players that they needed for this series, it was going to be an uphill battle with or without Kevin Durant. And ultimately, Damian Lillard pushes through separated ribs to play. CJ McCollum did his best in the series, but they're a bad matchup against the Warriors to begin with, and without their full assortment of players, there was just an overwhelming amount of talent. But that doesn't take away, as you said, Jason, from what they've done all season, which is they've had a really great season. Lillard and McCollum showed what they can do in these series. Beating Denver was huge for them. I mean, this is one of the teams that is supposed to be ascendant, that could take over once the Warriors leave. And ultimately, the Blazers basically told them to wait a second and let them know, hey, look, we're still here. We're still a little higher than you are in the pecking order. And Damian Lillard showed a few opponents here that he's still one of those guys who you have to fear at the end of the shot clock, at the end of games. And with the way that McCollum played against the Nuggets, I think you have to be encouraged as a Trailblazers fan about what the future holds with those two guards who are hopefully going to lead them for a long time.
I think that they will. I mean, Damian Lillard was quoted yesterday, when they had their final media day of the season. He said, look, getting swept in the Western Conference Finals is a lot better than getting swept in the first round, which is what happened to them last season at the hands of the New Orleans Pelicans. And looking at how the Pelicans fared this past regular season, that was not a good look. But they came back, they kept the band together, they added Rodney Hood and Enes Kanter, which were two huge pieces for them. I don't think they get this far without either of those pickups. But Portland had a great season. There's no reason to hang their heads. I think they need to run it back next year. You said it perfectly. They need some wing help. But they already started their offseason by giving Terry Stotts a much-deserved multi-year contract extension. The Blazers will be right there. I think them and the Nuggets, if the Warriors break up, which we all presume them to do so come July, they'll be right there at the top of the Western Conference pecking order for sure.
Yeah, you got to like what Terry Stotts did. It seemed like he pushed all the right buttons throughout the playoffs. Against the Nuggets in the second round, he did a great job of kind of staggering the minutes. It seemed like he got the most out of guys like Kanter. But I think you said it really well. I mean, as much as I love the Terry Stotts hiring, the future of this team, or re-signing I should say, is going to be dependent on their ability to get wing help for Lillard and McCollum. One of the things that you saw teams do was dare those two to get the ball to wing players and have those guys beat them. And Rodney Hood stepped up. He stepped up in a big way, and I'd like to see what they can do to keep him. I think his size and his playmaking and shooting ability make him a very good fit as kind of one of their guys. I liked that they had Seth Curry. I think those guys are kind of good fits. But Harkless and Aminu, as well as they played at points in these series, Jason, I think it was very clear watching this team that they were sort of I hate to say it, but weak links. They can't play make, and they weren't good enough shooters, and teams were just begging them to shoot those open corner threes, for them to take the ball off the bounce and try to get to the rim. And I think that really made it tough for Portland, because when those guys didn't contribute, it was just hard for them to get enough offense to win against a team like the Warriors, or to even punish switches. I mean, it gives teams a lot of options when those guys can't punish the mismatch. When you put a guard onto one of those guys, neither one of them has a real post game, so you can't get them down in the post. It just limits what you can do on offense. And I think it's okay to have one of those guys, but I feel like they really needed their Draymond Green type guy. They really needed a guy like maybe an Aaron Gordon type guy. I mean, the problem is, of course, everyone needs those guys now, Jason. So do you see any way that they can get someone like that and add him to this core, or do you think this is probably what they're going to have next year?
I mean, there are some really good wings available, so it'll be interesting to see if Portland will land a meeting with a Jimmy Butler or a Kawhi Leonard or even a Kevin Durant. But if not, those guys you mentioned, Harkless and Al-Farouq Aminu, they're glue guys. So I think they do need to be brought back, just in a lesser role. Because both of those players have been there for a long time. And it's important to keep that continuity within the organization. But you put an all-star wing next to Lillard and McCollum, look out. They're going to go from championship hopefuls to championship contenders. Because they were obviously the NBA's Cinderella team. Okay, no one expected them to make it this far. And unfortunately, in Game 4, the clock struck midnight on them,